It's that time of the week again, Monday. Good morning. Good morning, our courageous community, our friends. How is everybody feeling? We're heading into what may be a short work week for some of you, starting to get into that hustle and bustle of the holidays. Gonna wait for my girls to join. April and Cynthia. Cynthia had a birthday yesterday, and actually the three of us, we went out with some other friends and stuff like that to celebrate. And I know you might know that Cynthia can dance. I don't know if you know that I think I can dance, but girl, April, that girl can move. Seriously, like, so amazing. So we'll wait for them to join this morning. Hi, I was just gossiping about you. I was.
You were gossiping about me?
But it wasn't gossip because you already know.
What were you saying?
That you're an amazing dancer. Seriously, girl, you can move.
Yes, I can.
And that it was Cynthia's birthday. And we all got to celebrate.
Yes, it was so much fun. I miss dancing so much. It was so good to kind of get out there and shake thy booty.
Right? I know one of my best friends, Janelle, like that's like her thing. Like she's like, and so she has been feeling the same way where, like it's been a while, since she's been had the chance to get like really dressed up and go out and dance and like, but I mean, I told her, I'm like, you can do a dance party in your living room and get dressed up for that too if you want, but hi. But yeah, it did feel really good. It felt like normal, which felt nice.
Yeah. We were just talking about your birthday celebration.
Oh yeah, so nice.
Nice. Hi, Terry.
So I know we're going into a holiday week. Seems like it's a slow morning, a little slow start, but maybe it's just ramping up for all of the abundance that happens on Thursday with Thanksgiving, which we were talking earlier, gets to bring up a lot of opportunity for gratitude and expressing and receiving. But then there's also, like, for some people, it's not fun, the holidays. So we get to honor and acknowledge all of that. And I think that that's kind of some of the stuff that we wanted to talk about this morning.
For sure. For me, Thanksgiving is one of my favorite, if not the favorite holiday, just because I think every single one of us can find something in our life, even if it's like, geez, I opened my eyeballs today. Thankful and grateful for. And there's Miss Penny offering her feedback. Girl, I agree. It's time to... And sometimes just that one little moment to concentrate helps you get through the day, for those that struggle. And for others, it reconnects you to what's really important in our life, because we get so bogged down with, hopping on that hamster wheel and doing God knows what we think we have to do, so.
How are you feeling about the upcoming holiday?
I love Thanksgiving. And my family, one thing I love that we started doing a number of years ago is it doesn't fall on one person ever. And I love that. There's so many times I hear, it's such a stress and all of that. And I always think, that's not great if we're not enjoying everything, And I know it's also like with giving and being grateful comes receiving. And, I would just throw that out there. Sometimes I am a person that it's tough for me to accept the help. But it is a lot when you're hosting a holiday, and it does kind of make you able to be a little more present when you invite the help in. So I would say that I love that. We just chill. If somebody wants to wear pajamas, it's totally fine. Like nobody cares. On Thanksgiving, I feel like nobody cares, but in a good You know, it's really just about playing games and honoring each other and getting together and, you know, all that good stuff. Sometimes remembering loved ones that can't be with us anymore on this earth. You know, I know that comes up for a lot of people, and that definitely comes up for us too. We always, you know, one person says my grandmother's name and we're like, "Ew," you know, like instantly, you know. Yeah, so it's more that, you know, just really connecting, like taking time to connect as a family.
I'm like writing down some little things along the way that are coming up for me, like tradition, right? And like what that brings up for people, and the idea of creating new traditions.
Mhm.
And then martyr also, because when you were talking about the ability to like ask for help, and I'm sure there's, you know, some people out there who do it all. No, the dinner, the table, the dressings, the this, the that, you know, and it's like, and then they get to boast and like, you know, oh no, I did it by myself. Like, but just some observations and things that came up for me when you were sharing that. We have a tradition which I love, um, where in our house nobody eats the cranberry sauce, but like you have to have it. So we have a can of Ocean Spray cranberry sauce. No plug on the name, just whatever. A can of cranberry sauce, and we all just sign it and we write the year and we just put it on the table. And we leave it on the table because nobody eats it, but you have to have it.
Yeah,
And yeah, and if you look back, there's like in the cupboard, there's like several cans that go back to like, you know, many years ago that just have our names on them and stuff like that. So that brings me joy.
that's fun and funny,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Uh-huh.
Well, it brings to light all of the little quirky things that you do as a family that you kind of take for granted, but in moments like this, you get to honor and bring back to light. So I love that.
Because I know, like, I don't have a large family per se, and my husband and I haven't started our own version of a traditional family. And so, you know, in thinking about like what things have been passed down or what can continue to be passed down or what can we create to share with others, I think, you know, that there could be some pressure along with that, but it could also be fun,
Mhm.
depending on how you choose.
And always, and we're always learning. I love when, you know, Brian was with us last week and he was just talking about like having different conversations with his family this year or bringing up something. And I love that. You know, something that was coming to me is maybe invite somebody or reach out to somebody that you wouldn't normally, maybe that you have a little chip on your shoulder around, or, you know, it's like kind of a cool time. And again, why just this time of year, right? It can
Mm.
all year long, where we pay intentional attention to these types of things. But you know, I'll take the holiday to remind us all too.
Mm.
But
Mm-hmm.
you know, it brings up a lot for people just being in other people's presence sometimes. And you know, I think, you know, politics gets to not be a conversation when you're getting together with your loved ones over the holidays. If it's going to cause some kind of separation, you know, it's a time to be inclusive of each other and just really love on each other, I feel like.
Mm. Something that supports me if I'm going into a situation that I'm not in love with is the concept of what am I committed to creating? And I use that as an anchor in the times where I feel myself reacting, you know, and feeling triggered or whatever. And I just kind of take a deep breath and reconnect to what I was committed to creating going into this, whether it was, you know, a joyful experience, a peaceful experience, a loving experience, you know, like whatever it looks like or feels like. For me, that's something that is supportive going into, you know, something that if it's something that I'm not feeling like woo about, you know, I get to remind myself of what I get to be responsible around, at least, because I can't control what other people do and how they behave or how they interact or what comes up for them.
Yeah, it's like responsible for, hey Kelly, um, really taking a mindful stance and responsible for action and not taking like, oh, well, why me, really, really radical responsibility and really being intentional around how you're showing up for yourself and for other people. Because a lot of that other BS that you're, like you just said, triggered by is your own to process. And I think that's where a lot of, the yucky part of holidays, where you may have a conflict, like Cynthia just shared, leave it at the door for a minute. Like you don't have to carry it. And I think that's, we take that on as a society, that we gotta, put on the backpack of grief or anger or sadness or fear or joy, or, like all of the emotions. But this gets a moment to be way more intentional around that kind of stuff too. So I love that you brought that up, because I think it's really important. We want to be the martyr and push the ugly stuff onto somebody else, but sometimes it's just ours to own and then release, or just put it in the back burner for a minute. Take the backpack off of yuckiness.
And I feel like too, what's coming up for me is that we also get to, in certain situations, have gratitude for those things that we carry, and that in some way, and at some point they served us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can have gratitude for that because we developed it for a reason, but then we also get to have an awareness about when it doesn't serve us too. And we get to leave it at the door.
Well, we've shared repeatedly how much those moments are really pivotal and very important to teach us the lesson too. So thank you for that, because I think that's really important for people to understand, like the yucky are just as important as the good, We take ownership of that. I feel like we take ownership of the yuck and not the ownership of the joy and the happiness too, Yeah. I don't know where the heck that came from, but there you go.
And we're done. Have a beautiful Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us.
It's a powerful statement, right? We take full ownership of all the shit, but never the glory, It pushed aside. Maybe we get to look at that a little bit.
Yeah. And shift the energy around it. That feels good. For anybody who's on with us, thank you. If there's anything coming up for you that you'd like to share around how you're feeling heading into a holiday, we're always open to having you share and to share space with you and to support you.
Yeah, I'm curious too. It's coming to me like in being responsible for joy, right? And some of the joyful stuff. And now don't misunderstand me when I'm talking. I'm not saying to abuse yourself, of course, if somebody in your life is going to be completely not serving to you and your family in a certain way. But also open up to the possibility of maybe inviting that person that's kind of outcasted. Everybody has a family where somebody feels like they aren't like the rest of the family. Everybody has that in their family somewhere, and whether it's a cousin, aunt, uncle, blah, 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 whoever it is, but maybe be the person to invite that person in to be received in a different way is coming to me too. And for everybody, like I even get like when I think of those things, and sometimes I'm like, we talk about being the one, but yeah, be the one. Maybe it is you, maybe it gets to be you, even if the thought of it makes you really clammy inside and all over.
What I think is interesting is that this is the second time you brought that up, that's coming to you. So who are you inviting?
No, because I do that in my life now. I actually,
I
want to be the one always that thinks of that person and that relationship or relationships.
What has your experience of it been?
That
Penny pooped. She always does it during the lives.
I
just want to share that.
I think the experience is not attaching to the outcomes of what that's going to look like, because I think we think everybody needs to be, you know, in perfect alignment with us and where we're at, or everybody needs to be at a certain level in our lives, you know, but those relationships are levels too. And, you know, not everybody has to receive you in the way that you think you want to be received and vice versa.
Mhm.
So maybe just not attaching to outcomes or not placing any expectations on anybody that you're with, you know, for the moment of the holiday. And just see without the expectation how that relationship goes. And that means just literally, sometimes it means leaving the person alone too, and just letting them enjoy themselves the way they need to. I knew she was going to be all over
I don't, Kelly, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm feeling led to ask you to join us this morning. So if you feel comfortable doing that, please do.
And you can share your contribution charity also, Kel.
Yeah, yeah. If you're free, we would love that.
I think
Sometimes
she's sharing too as well, like inviting someone as a guest, and even if they don't come, know that you thought of them, and you know, like,
yeah,
that sometimes is more than enough to know that you've been thought of. And
mm-hmm.
you know, you may not accept the invitation, but just knowing someone thought enough of you, you know, to reach out. I love that, Kelly.
Mm-hmm. And that leads me to, there's also people that don't have big families and don't have, you know, what some of us have on the holidays. So I love that too. Maybe even thinking of somebody like that you know, just what Kelly shared, that you normally wouldn't even, you know.
I know I'm very blessed in my family. We have an open door policy. No matter how long it's been that we know you or don't know you, if somebody's like, "Hey, I brought Sam to Thanksgiving," we're like, "Hi, Sam." So I love inclusion. I think it's super important, and you don't know, you know, that's that saying you see a lot. You don't know what somebody's going through. You know, be kind, because actually I saw this morning a meme about someone taking their own life, but they, you know, they had a great job. They were a goal, you know, they crushed every goal that they said they wanted, you know, overperformer, and they still, you know, we don't know what somebody else's life is like, and who are we to judge what that looks like for them. And we get to kind of be accepting of where someone's at, because we're not living their life. And I think that's the biggest thing I hear you saying in all of that is inclusion is not just, oh well, let me accept you as long as you have X, Y, and Z, you know. No, like full acceptance is loving them exactly where they're at, and offering something that maybe you think they have, but assumption only gets you further down the line of understanding. And I'm totally making that point, but like I make my own words, y'all. But not making a point to understand where someone's coming from based on their life and not yours is super important. Like, we have a meeting every morning before this, and you know, when you're shifting something and you're aware of a behavior, sometimes your intention is coming from an old way of being. And so someone else may take something you're saying as what you're trying to project is the opposite, you know, like you're having a conversation, and if you're feeling a certain way and you're bringing awareness to how your behavior is, sometimes you need that extra patience from somebody to really understand where that person's coming from, because they're shifting a behavior, but they're acting in a way that used to serve them, you know. And I think that's where we get to be a little bit more mindful, because we all just want to be understood, right? We all want to be heard. And sometimes, based on our own life, we're taking that interpretation as, oh gosh, this person's like thinking I'm offended, or they're offended, when actually they're just trying to use their voice, or they're trying to be heard, or they're trying to understand where somebody else is coming from. That's where, you know, assumption and expectations and all of that stuff kind of gets to be put in the back burner, and we get to trust that that person has an intimate understanding of where they're at, but they're not able to say that to somebody too, you know? So we get caught up in our own stuff, and maybe this time of year we get to be a little bit more patient and understanding and listen to understand and not listen to respond, because most of the time that's all we're doing is we're fighting each other to hear what we are trying to say to each other instead of just listening to what the other person's trying to say too. And I think that's where I think a lot of people are like, oh, family, you know, that's where Thanksgiving and holidays get a little wonky, because I don't want to hear Aunt Thelma tell me how disappointing my life is, or, you know, my mom saying, oh, you should, you know, and shit all over me, or whatever your circumstance is, wherever that comes from. I don't know, just something that I think a lot of us get to be a little bit more clear in when we're trying to hear somebody, or we're trying to make ourselves be understood too.
I think that's just a valuable opportunity year round to like you said, to just listen. And you know, the three of us had connected in person last week and had a chance to do that. And it can be uncomfortable for some people too. I know I get, you know, I love to chat. I'm the fill in the blank. Like I'm the intro. I'm like, blah, blah, you know. But so sometimes for me to just lean back and really like listen to somebody, which again, that's my own shit. But like I have to like sit on my hands almost and be like, like fight the urge to do it, because it's so like it's a response, like you know, listening to listen as listening to respond. So I love that reminder that just because, and I think that you've brought this up too, April, just because you're not saying anything doesn't mean you're not saying anything. It means you could be in receiving mode or you could be saying something without saying something. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's coming up for me is just letting people be them, like truly allowing people to be them and using your own voice in the ways you need to be you.
Ooh, can you join us? We would love to see you.
I sent her an invite. So hopefully she'll pop on. There she is.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning to you lovely ladies.
Just as a notification that you're joining us.
I would love to speak with you, but you have to just let me know if my service is okay, because I'm in a spot that sometimes I lose connection with you guys. So hopefully it'll work. I love everything that you guys are discussing this morning. I think it's so timely and so important and refreshing, and a really nice reminder that, you know, if we want things to look or feel different, then we can do something that we don't usually do and see what happens.
Does that resonate for you specifically? And then is there something that you have an awareness around this holiday as opposed to, let's say, last holiday, you know, last year, that you're committed to creating and being a part of?
Yes. So it's so exciting because I'm already there, and I'm still able to be inspired by what you guys are sharing, you know, so it's kind of like a twofold. It's, you know, magic in the making, if you will. Cynthia, I think, already knows that I have plans to visit friends for Thanksgiving, and I've never done that before.
And they're very fun.
They're very fun, and maybe they cook the best food that I ever ate in my life. So yeah. It's like it's gonna be amazing. And we haven't seen them, and they have kids, you know, very close to our boys' age, and it's gonna be a beautiful, you know, couple of days. But I had reservations because I love to be with my family, and I tend to over obligate myself, you know, in any way possible just to complicate, things for me. And it was great because my husband, Chris, called me out on it. We kind of, threw the idea out to go visit our friends. And Chris got on the phone and was talking to Mo and made plans. And then he watched me back out of it and called me out. And he said, no, 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 like this was your idea. You said yes, it's in motion. And now you're going to, say we're not going. And I said, you're right. And I sat with, my little voices in my head that were telling me why I couldn't. And I told them to be quiet. And I called my mom, I called my grandma, and everybody was understanding and everybody was excited for me. And I get to go because I'm very lucky that I see my family all the time. And it's okay if I'm not at the Thanksgiving table because I will see them, the next day or, in a few days. And I get to be grateful that they were so understanding and supportive. And now I get to enjoy myself in a new, exciting, Thanksgiving experience. And, I had to get out of my own way to do that. So it was great. I already had a great time and I'm not even there yet.
Aw. But I love what you brought up too about overcommitting, because I think a lot of us do that in just everyday life, and then around the holidays for sure. So I'm curious what could open up for people if they either got called out on overcommitting or called themselves out on overcommitting and then maybe just chose to commit to only the things that feel good for them.
Or be open to, things looking a little bit different. When we really consider the idea of a holiday season, we have more than one day. We have more than, 2 or 3 days. And a lot of us, either come from a family that, is split and maybe we have to go to 2 places, or, you have children, or you have, young kids, older kids, things in your dynamic might change. And then maybe your traditions get to flex a little bit. And I love the idea of doing multiple days. If you can't, or you don't want to go to 2 or 3 places in one day, or you can't host everyone at once, is it okay if you split things up and, do more than one get together? And that could be okay too.
Yeah. I think people too sometimes get rigid around, well, no, this is the tradition. And I love that you're saying like the flex in that.
Yeah.
Because you actually end up multiplying the experience if you expand it. And so why just keep it to one day?
Right. And it's hard, there's something really special and beautiful about a reoccurring tradition. And I can understand, why somebody would want to hold on to that and preserve it. There's, that gets really deep. And, so just, consider trying something new on. And it doesn't have to mean that you let go of your tradition. Maybe add, a new idea into the mix on a different day and just see how it feels. And then you can, look to include that in next season if you're not ready to make a change. But I love the idea of just trying something new. If something's not working, you can't keep doing it and expecting it to feel better. So, yeah.
You're currently committed to supporting people that are hunger challenged this time of year. Do you want to talk about that a little?
I would love to. I actually did a Facebook Live for the very first time, and I had this outer body experience, during it, because I didn't know what I was doing, clearly, and I wasn't speaking. I was in a room with too much natural light, and I spent the first at least minute trying to figure out how to not make myself look like a ghost, and then I realized that people were watching me. And I wasn't saying anything. And I had to shut it down and, gather myself for a moment and just get back on and remember that nobody cares except me. And anybody that was watching it, was there and stayed there with me, even though I wasn't saying anything. And look at that. Like, look how, how surrounded with love I was, even though I wasn't saying a word. So I just have to share that because I had a message that I wanted to share, and it doesn't matter that it came out imperfectly. I kind of went through the motions and did what I wanted to do, and it was just a really beautiful experience because it wasn't about what I sounded like. It was about the meaning behind the message. And I was talking about an organization that is countrywide called Feeding America, and that so many of us will look to donate, for Thanksgiving meals, for, holiday meals next month. But this is an ongoing, really crucial issue. And I did speak yesterday about how when schools closed during the pandemic, during that immediate first few months, that as a speech language pathologist working in a public school, we were home, and the first week or two everything wasn't set as far as what online school would look like. And I ended up hooking up with the head of the kitchen at my school and making sure that I went and picked up food from a local donation place that was feeding the kids in our community. And I just made sure that I made some phone calls to the parents that I already worked with and picked up the food and brought it to them. And it was probably one of the most important things I've ever done. And there's a lot of kids that go to school, and that's where they get breakfast and that's where they get lunch. And then we weren't in school, and like I was home just thinking about so and so and so and so, and the list was very long about how they're not I don't know if they're eating. I know they're not eating. So it just made me think, and I chose to speak about that particular organization because it's not just in my community or your communities, and it's everywhere. It's places that you don't think it's in. And what's more important than making sure that anybody that's vulnerable has support in that area. If you don't have food to eat, you don't have fuel to go to school and learn, and it's not just children, it's everybody. So I just thought that it was a really good time to just talk about that, and not just for turkeys and Thursday food, but just all the time. And it doesn't have to be a giant donation. You think about how much you would pay for a cup of coffee this morning, or how much you pay when you stop at the bagel store for your lunch. Just throw a couple bucks into a donation that is going to help somebody that really, really needs it. So Feeding America is a great place to donate a few dollars to if you have a few moments to just help someone in need.
I love that. And I love that you used, so take a cup of coffee off of your weekly, routine and put it towards, contribution, because it doesn't have to be this grandiose thing. And I think, we as a society are like, oh, someone else will do it, when maybe we get to, take a couple coffee budgets to, placing it in contribution versus in consumption. So
absolutely. Or while you're drinking your cup of coffee, use those couple of minutes to throw a couple bucks out there.
Yeah, we get to do that as a society.
Mm-hmm. You know what, too? Like I know that I can sometimes limit myself, where it's like, oh, I don't have $10 today to give. But if I gave $1 and 10 other people just gave $1, then so to my offer and my feeling in this moment that I'm receiving is you don't have to give it all.
Exactly.
But that if everybody's just doing what they can, that still adds up to a huge amount.
It really does.
Yeah.
There's an Oscar Wilde quote. The smallest act of kindness is worth more than the grandest intention. And I love that because I like to half do things. So I will like half write a beautiful thank you note, and then it takes me too long to mail it because I didn't have a stamp, or because I felt like I wanted to add something, else to it. So I like the idea of not waiting for it to be perfect and not waiting for it to be huge and monumental. Just do it. So if you have, a little thank you note message in your, head, throw it in a text, jot it on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be the most beautiful paper in the whole world. Just share that message out. If you feel like you need to give, something to someone, give it now. Don't wait until you have the 10, like you said, Leanna. Just
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
whatever you can in that moment, and don't wait. Am I gone? Am I here?
You're
Good.
You're like, your words were breaking up, but we got the message for
I'm
sure.
getting a phone call, so I didn't know if I got kicked off. So yeah, that's something that I'm going to say for all of us. I feel very confident that I can speak for all of you with me when I say that there is something happens when you have that loving urgency to give. It's I'm not going to wait. It doesn't have to be earth shattering, but I have to give because I get that feeling that I need to give. Let me give it out now. And it could be, a loving message. It could be that invite to, the family dinner that, you're not really sure how that person's going to receive it. It could be that phone call that says, hey, I know you might not be able to make it because I know you're not feeling up to it, or I know that, things are a little complicated for you, but you are welcome, and you can change your mind. It's okay for you to change your mind last minute and just show up. Or it's okay for you to tell me the next day that, you want to get together and let's make that work. Those gestures will make big changes in your relationships. There's nothing cooler than having somebody reach out and tell you that they're thinking about you. And you don't have to come. So I love everything that you guys were saying before. It's really important.
I love that. I feel like that's a call to action, is to connect with somebody today and just tell them you're thinking of them and that they're welcome, and whatever that means. It doesn't have to mean that they're welcome, hey, this Thursday you want to come and do it, but that they're welcome in your life.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You're
That's
always welcome.
beautiful, beautiful. So Kelly, do you maybe possibly want to send us the link for Feeding America, and we can put it in the comments for the live share today?
Absolutely.
That would be awesome. And then, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, just kind of to go back to, so earlier Cynthia was talking about, hold on, there was a connection I wanted to make here. Oh, just in general, just being kind, or April was saying, just being kind to people, because you don't know where people are at sometimes. And it brings up a story where one time there was a woman who was working very hard in her school district to collect food on behalf of the children in the district that were challenged. And then later that week, seeing her standing on a pantry line to receive food for herself, even. And just, so that's just coming up for me too, where, again, this woman's in contribution, but behind the scenes, she's in need of contribution as well. And just the power in that, and just being kind to people, and because you don't know their story, even if they look like they, are doing all these, like April was saying with the meme, the goal achievement, and I'm smashing this in life, and woo, woo, but then being on the receiving end of needing support too. So just don't know if it's relevant, but I just had this visual of that woman standing online.
Yeah, I love it, and I feel like it relates to just the idea that we all need something, and how often do you give out what you need, so it makes total sense to me that she,
I'm writing that down. Do you give out what you need?
I think a lot of us do, right?
Yeah.
And
I
sometimes
think it gets to be a place of inquiry for sure.
yeah.
Got it. Thanks. Thank
Well,
you for
That's what
allowing
I
me to
said, but you're
receive.
welcome.
I think it brings up a really valid point that we're all connected, right? We all have some of the same insecurities, the same desires, the same wants. We kind of get to realize that sometimes something you see in someone else that you don't necessarily respect or like doesn't mean that they're not so much like you. And a lot of the times what you're not liking, you may be seeing in yourself. So like the opposite of what, you're sharing, here's this person that's in contribution, but then they're in need too. It's the same kind of scenario. So I love that we're bringing that up here as well. And I know you had something. Hopefully I didn't take it away from you.
No, I was just thinking about like simplicity of like bringing like of just letting somebody be, like I'm just thinking of, for instance, like something that might drive you crazy. Like my father can be like the ultimate like take control, but at the same time that's what brings him joy, so I've noticed in my family, in our experience of him, we go to fight his energy within that of like receiving it. But like when we don't fight him and just let him do, he's really good at controlling things and he's good at execution. So just think of something like that where you might be the person in your family to offer, let's just let him go. Like he's not harming anybody, he's not doing anything, just thinking of that little spin on, and I'm just using that as an example because I think everybody can relate to something like that on their day, yeah, because it's like, is the person really doing that much harm? Sometimes we're really dramatic about things too. I'll speak for myself. Sometimes I'm really dramatic about things. And you get to step back and be like, what is this actually? Like, what is it really detrimental, or is it actually, when I look at it, that person's way of adding value to me? But I just don't see it that way, for whatever reason.
Ooh, that was powerful.
It's so true. I just had a conversation about that yesterday. That just, everybody has something that they, give, either to you or, I was talking about, to our kids. Everybody has their special, either funny way or loving way or just way of giving, something, some kind of love or care, to us. And just be so grateful for that. I had a crazy, silly little thing, but it was just so special. I'd love to share with you guys. I was gathering some ideas for Christmas, ideas for our three boys, and I was looking at advent calendars, and I was looking at a Lego one, and all of they're so crazy now. We used to just get the little, fight each other for those because we would never get one for me and one for my brother. It was like fend for yourselves. Whoever opens the window first gets it. So they're a lot of money. And I found myself sitting there and I was like, all right, do I really want to spend, it was over $100 for 3 of these advent calendars, and they're so cool, but let me just let it go. And let me see if I find a chocolate one in a store. And I thought to myself, it would be so cool if someone did this as a gift for my kids. I have so many we have so many people that are so generous and so thoughtful, you know, and always do all these amazing things for the boys. It would be so neat if somebody did this. And the next morning, I get a text from Cole, from my friend Nicole, who is, you know, the sunshine of my life, you know, for forever. And she sends me a picture of a Yoda advent calendar, and she's like, 3 of these are on the way for the boys. And I was like, look at that. Look at that just show up like that, like a little wish that I threw out there, and it happened. She read my mind, and it was just one of those. I mean, I can't even tell you how excited and magical it was that, you know, I asked for this little treat and it showed up. And I don't know, just silly little things like that it's so much more than the advent calendars. It's just the idea that I have, you know, these special, amazing people in my life that, you know, are my everything. And, you know, it started this big conversation, you know, with Cole about how important she is and how much she does for my boys and how I see her show up. And then it went into like all of these other, you know, things very specific about her. But, you know, she did this magical gift, you know, for the boys. And I carved out time in my day to make sure that I explained to her how important she is. And it was really, I needed it. I don't get a lot of time with my friends because she works in retail and she kind of, you know, gets really busy at this time, as everybody, you know, could imagine. But I got to share this message with her about how important she is and how much I value her, and how when I went to the store that she works in the other day, I watched her give her sunshine to this customer that was, you know, just buying a hat. And Nicole made her day, and she made her feel special. And she helped her when she was having trouble answering questions because she was a Spanish speaking customer. And I watched Nicole make her feel welcome and comfortable. And I also watched her make her buy 3 hats instead of 1 because she's what she does. But I got to, like, you know, have this very specific conversation with her about, like, I see you showing up and sharing sunshine with people inside the mall, you know, and certainly in my home. So it was like, she's a gift to me is really the basic, you know, bottom line of that little story. But you know, we have gifts show up for us all the time, you know, and it's really neat to get to like celebrate that.
I love that. And thank you so much for being courageous and just sharing that, because I think a lot of the time, like, super important reminder, right? Like, a lot of the time we make an assumption that someone knows the impact that they have in our life, and we get to take that moment and be courageous and just share those thoughts, because they really, literally, you became her sunshine by sharing how valuable she is to you in that moment. And, you know, the universe always has our back, you guys. Like, that story is a perfect example of you putting it out there and your friend received it. And then you got a beautiful gift for your children, just based on you surrendering and trusting that the universe always has your back, and someone that's a ray of sunshine in your life provided that for you. Like, we're all connected, we're all one, and we get to take these moments and really shine brightly in gratitude. And you know what? Go first. Invite someone that you wouldn't invite. Say the thing that you've always wanted to say to somebody. You know, in true fashion, I forgot the birthday card for Cynthia yesterday. And so instead I wrote a little note on a thing, because it was more important for me to have her receive than for me to run out and buy a card. Like, it doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter what stories in your brain. Just offer yourself in a really vulnerable, courageous way, because people are desiring that connection. People are wanting to know how they impact your life. We are very impacted by all of yours. And Kelly, you are such a stand for all of this. And I just want to honor you and let you know how grateful I am that you are a part of my life and the Courageous in Creation community. For sure, you're a pillar of
Oh,
how you stand,
thank
really.
I
So
love all three of you, and happy belated birthday on camera to my moon goddess. I love you all. You are gifts to me, and I'm very grateful that I got to spend a few minutes with you this morning.
Thank you for sharing your sunshine, literally, as you have this beautiful yellow scarf on, and it's just so joyful.
And my Thanksgiving dress for
I
well,
feel complete. I don't know how everybody else is feeling.
It was
I
awesome.
think there's a lot of takeaways. The message of welcoming people into your space, whether it be this holiday, whether it be any day, letting people know how they impact your life and the gift that they are, and just letting people be this holiday, letting them show up powerfully as themselves.
love it.
Have a beautiful holiday, whatever beautiful looks like for you, if that means spending it with family or spending it alone, whatever feels good. And we will put a link to Feeding America in the comments so that we can help support what's something that you're passionate about.
Thank you.
And as always, with Courageous in Creation, please be a part of our community. You're welcome. You get to be part of the community. You get to be heard. You're a gift to us. And just have a beautiful, powerful day.
Thank you. I love you guys. I hope
love
you
you.
have a good day.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.